Wouldn't It Be Nice is the 8th episode of the 3rd season of All Grown Up, and this is not a bad episode, particularly with Angelica and Susie. We do have a subplot that I'll address very briefly, and then I'll get in with the main narrative. So there will be some spoilers. I won't go into a tremendous amount of detail, though. The subplot involves Tommy, Phil, Lil, and Dill, and they're skipping school to get an autograph, and they're getting an autograph from a soccer player, and it's all about, well, to start off with, it's about them skipping school, but then the anxieties begin to set in that they're going to get caught and they're rocking back and forth, and there's definitely a strong message there that if you skip school, you may not feel great. I didn't mind that part of the episode. I particularly liked the bit with the surveillance cameras and Dill being a mime. It was okay, but the main narrative is the most interesting. And they are being paired up, the older children. I'm not entirely sure if Chuckie should be in the same class because he is quite a bit younger than Angelica and Susie. But nevertheless, he is in this class where they're being paired off with each other to pretend to be married to see what it would be like to be a fully grown adult with a job, with a marriage, what it's like to try and sustain a living. And Angelica and Susie end up being fake married. And they go to a wedding dress shop, which I think was a little bit strange. And they accidentally get left behind on the school bus. And it turns out they have very different priorities because as they try and find their way back, they end up clashing over several things. Mostly because Susie is really worried because she's left her backpack and there's something really important in it. And Angelica seems to have a very relaxed attitude that's not very helpful. Angelica's also really annoyed that she's married to somebody who isn't raking in the money. And she seems to be taking that part of it a little bit too seriously. But it's also about them trying to work together. And we learn about the 3 C's, which I'd never heard of as a thing, but it's certainly quite interesting. The 3 C's being communication, cooperation, and compromise, which are 3 great things to help you create a healthy relationship. So that was pretty interesting. I liked seeing Angelica and Susie interacting a lot together. As I said, Chuckie's role felt a little bit strange. I didn't dislike it as such, but it felt like he didn't need to be there. It would have made more sense if he'd gone with Tommy, Phil, Lil, and Dill. But nevertheless, it's not a bad episode. Definitely quite thought-provoking, very well animated, and I rather enjoyed it. Probably not an all-time personal favourite, but Wouldn't It Be Nice is still a pretty good episode of All Grown Up.